Welcome back, Tribe. Let's get into this episode again and see what they got.
I need a lot of space. I don't know if I can live with a woman, to be honest. I've tried to do that in the past. It's extremely difficult. Like, there's a reason why people tend to not live with their parents. Like, you can love somebody more when you don't live with them.
Right.
You know?
100,000%. Yeah. Are you an only child?
No, I have a younger sister.
Oh, I'm an only child. I'm like, yeah, I can't imagine. It's tough sometimes saying, yeah, you're going to live in the same place.
It is. Some people are easier to love at a bit of a remove.
Yeah.
Like I said earlier, men generally are trying to transact resources for the sexual opportunity. So when a woman is attracted to a man, when she wants that particular man to access her in that way, she will remove as many obstacles or obstructions to that relationship as possible, which basically means she's going to be available. She's not going to be difficult. She's going to work with the logistics that work for him. She's going to come to him on his time. Like, she's going to do as much as she can to make it easy for her to fit into that man's life.
Right.
So that, on the whole, makes that relationship less expensive for that man because he's not going out of his way. He's not paying more than he needs to in terms of time and effort, et cetera, which also on the whole makes it more likely that he will move forward with that relationship because no one, man or woman, will want to pay more for the same good than they absolutely have to. Do you understand? On the flip side of that, if a woman doesn't really like you, like you're not potentially her best option, but she considered entering into a relationship with you, she's going to want more. And on some level, that's rational because she's sort of, whether she's conscious of it or not, she's expecting to be compensated for the opportunity cost of not spending her time and giving a relationship to men that she might prefer. So the guys that women...
That's why the nice guys are forced to jump through all the hoops. And for the bad boys, she gives everything away for free, for nothing. It's a brutal part of the game that a lot of men tend to see this as they're growing up with classmates, you know, the girl in your class that you really like and how she's so fond of this one guy who you know is no good for her, but she constantly gives him attention. She constantly allows him to mess up. She takes him back every time he does something wrong. And you're the bozo that has to sit there and hear all about it because you're just friends. And then as the time passes on and then she finally realizes her mistakes, dude, she's going to make a move on you because you're the safe bozo walking wallet that is going to take her in feeling lucky that she finally saw the value in you, but only after you jump through a million hoops and have a million roadblocks in front of you of things she will no longer do for you that she did for all those men. You got to work 10 times as hard to get the little bitty attention that those men work 10 times less to get. She's going to be closed off psychologically. She won't do the bedroom acrobatics. She won't do all the natural feminine things she was doing for the men she was naturally attracted to. Your entire relationship is a negotiation, and she expects, like he said, that she be compensated every single day for the fact that she settled for you. And that is why they say nice guys finish last. In reality, they never get to finish at all. It's a hellish existence to be with a woman that thinks she's better and can do better than you and be treated as a second-class citizen in your own relationship. And a lot of men are dealing with that or have dealt with it, and they're watching these videos. They could tell you.
Women like less end up paying more. They have to do more. They have to give the commitment. They have to go out of their way. They have to make grander gestures. In fact, this is one of the main ways that men throughout history have secured access to women that might have been a little bit more attractive than they could otherwise get, is that they give them marriage, which is something that a lot of women really want. And
that's why you notice a lot of times that really good looking chick, not even really good looking chick, but you just notice there's a chick that's pretty good looking in comparison to her man who looks like a complete bozo. And you go, what the hell's going on here? The difference is that guy is a literal spineless turd who lets her walk all over him. That's what it is. She has secured a wallet, a meal ticket for life, and that guy will never stand up for himself, never enforce his boundaries, all because that woman is a few points higher than him in attraction. This is the best he can do. And this is why a lot of the relationships in the world today in the West are those kinds of relationships. And that chick will do whatever she wants. She'll go out with Stacy and have a few drinks and I'm coming home late, babe, or I'm going to sleep over at Stacy's. I don't feel good. oops, you go through her phone, you find pictures of some dude's 12-inch slong and videos of her screaming in ways she'll never scream for you. You're going to take her back because you have no boundaries. You're a spineless turd. And she's way hotter than you could ever get normally. So you gulp, and you go, okay, as long as we can still be together, everybody makes mistakes. Weak men, since the dawn of time, this has been happening. The game has not changed. Only the aesthetics of it have.
A lot of the more attractive men who have a lot of optionality won't give them. So that's how a man who's less attractive is able to kind of level the playing field with more attractive men. The less attractive men can offer something that they're not willing to do, namely exclusive commitment.
You said, you said something. It sparked this thought around, which is something you talked about, the concept of the adoree versus the adorer. And I remember something my dad told me. It's like, you want to find someone that's that likes you more than you like them, right? But I feel like that's the reverse of what you're saying. Like, as a man, you want to be the adorer.
Well,
No.
no, I think that as a man, you want to be the adored. And I made an episode about why it's even better for women to be the adorers in this dynamic.
Yep.
Oh, so you guys are saying the same thing then?
Yes.
Yeah.
In point of fact, men and women, most people want to be the adorer. They often don't admit that, but almost everybody wants to be in the adorer position because it's only the adorer who has the experience of being with the one they love. The adored, on the other hand, have the experience of being loved by the one they're with, which isn't nearly as emotionally compelling. When you're with the one that you love, there's like no better victory in the world as to secure the relationship with the one that you love. And it's intrinsically rewarding because of all the positive emotions that come with it. But it's also the seat of all emotionality. So that person is waiting on tenterhooks for the text back, and that person is overjoyed when they get to see the person, but also disappointed when they can't. Whereas the adored generally doesn't have as much of an emotional experience. So it's not as compelling for a lot of people. It's hard to just be adored. And some people want very small gaps in their attraction. Other people are more comfortable with large gaps in their attraction, right? But in general, I think it's better for men to be the adored because I think more than men do, women go to relationships for that emotional dimension. And if it's not there, they're going to be more likely to leave than men are. Men, if they don't feel anything, they might still stay out of a sense of duty or obligation. But I think that's harder for women to do.
Remember what I told you? When you get into a relationship, you have to constantly be improving. So she chases you up all the time. She has to feel like she's winning in the relationship in order to stay, because the amount of men that court her every day just existing as a woman, the amount of options she has from just social media posts, from everything, dude, just being a woman in modern society today with the technological reach each individual has, she has to feel like that relationship is her choice. You can't ask a woman to be your girlfriend. She has to ask you, what are we? I got feelings. I want to be with you. If your relationship didn't start because your woman pushed for it, you're in deep shit, my friend. You're on a clock. Eventually, a man will show up that's better than you in every way, or the day in and day out boredom that will creep into your relationship of being with somebody that's settled for you will kick in her brain, and she will take flight and swing to another branch. It's a matter of time. We know this from hypergamy. The guy that she's with has to be better than her. They naturally chase that guy anyway. If you're a dude and you begged your woman to be in a relationship, you pushed the chick you're talking to be exclusive. If you did that, that's not a real relationship. I'm sorry to tell you. It's a matter of time before it ends. Start preparing.
In the absence of the positive emotionality to keep them in a relationship.
I'm curious. I mean, like, all the videos you've done, it's clear that even the way you speak to, you've really thought through these things, right? So
I'm not just talking about some opinion that I casually had one day. I've thought about this for many years. This reflects my best possible thinking on the subject.
So I'm thinking, like, you've worked with thousands of people, right? So I'm just wondering, what are the common problems and patterns you've seen over and over? Where do we keep shooting ourselves in the foot?
Well, when I do consultations with women, universally the question is, how do I get married? Like, how do I get this particular man to marry me?
How do
women? They're all in their 30s, the ones that I've done consultations with. So that is what women are looking for when they hire me. Men are looking for a few different things. younger guys are trying to find ways of getting access to women, either overcoming their approach anxiety or being able to access women that they're legitimately attracted to. They have some optionality, but it's not with the women that they would prefer.
Right.
So we talked about that. Other guys are already married or in long-term relationships, and they're like, I have this really dysfunctional dynamic with my woman. Can you help me fix this or not?
Yeah.
And increasingly, I'm doing consultations with older guys who are divorced and who are re-entering the dating market after 20 or 30 years, which I got a lot of sympathy for. It would be really hard to just jump right into the sexual marketplace if you haven't dated in 2 decades.
Yeah, and here's why. Because most of the time you've let yourself go in those 20 years. Very few men have in the last 20 years in their long-term relationship have gotten or stayed shredded, have improved their bodies, have improved their mentality, have improved dramatically their financial situation. If that were the case, your relationship wouldn't have ended in the first place. The brutal reality is your woman thought she could do better. You stagnated in some way in your relationship and she left you for an option she perceived to be better. So the guys that are going back in the dating pool are old, beer belly, the day in and day out grinding, providing for my family. They got lost in that whole identity and no longer took care of themselves as well. So their bodies have gone, their charisma has gone. Everything that made that woman fall in love with them has gone in the duties of providing for your family. And as virtuous as that is, you cannot allow that to happen. You do have to, as a man, take care of yourself, put yourself first, always provide for your family, of course, but understand that happiness, that security, that protection, you're at the tippy top of the pyramid. All of that trickles down from you. When you stop taking care of yourself, you endanger everybody below you that you're providing and protecting for. You've endangered your family. You've endangered your relationship with your wife, your relationship with your children, because you didn't look after yourself mentally, physically, spiritually as a man. You lost your identity in your relationship with your woman, in your marriage. Everything trickles down from the man. If your relationship ended, it's because something happened where you put somebody else before you, your wife, your kids, your relationship, your job, whatever it is. And that was detrimental to the family that you were building. Understand that this all trickles down from you. You have to take care of you in order to be able to take care of them. When men get lost into that provider role and go 100% in on their job, 100% in on just making sure there's food on the table, they've stabbed themselves in the back on one end because their woman is going to feel like, he's never there. I feel like we're just roommates in an apartment. I have absolutely no emotional connection with my man. I feel neglected emotionally. Boom, she goes out and cheats. The kids never see daddy. He's always at work. The parents are always fighting. Mommy and daddy aren't getting along. Boom, trauma in childhood. They don't have a stable household. You have a lot to balance as a man, and it all rests on your shoulders. I'm not saying it's easy, but you do have to be vigilant, and you do have to take accountability for the fact that if you're not the best version of yourself, if you're not maintaining, if you're not constantly elevating in life, you're putting your life at risk. Not just yourself, but everything you've built. So going back into the dating pool, as a husk of your former self, of course, it's going to be hard. You're going to find out that the game is far more brutal than it's ever been during your time. And you're about to learn an even more bitter lesson that the world does not care about average and below average. You are now invisible as well. And your options will only return when you start to return to the guy you used to be or the man that you should be. And go on the train of self-improvement, my friend. There's no way around it. Never, ever, ever as a man allow yourself to get in that position. Ever. You should be on your deathbed still in shape for whatever age you are. You should constantly be reading, constantly learning new things, constantly doing new hobbies, acquiring new skills, knowledge. Always. You just have to for yourself and your family.
Yeah. Unless you have a lot of resources.
Well, these guys generally do. My compensation rate is fairly high, so I generally do consultations with fairly successful and established folks.
Got it. So, but what about the younger ones? The younger ones that are reaching out to you, if your rates are pretty high, how are they affording you?
Well, I live in the Bay Area, so they're generally working in tech.
Okay. Got it. That's it. Okay. So the women want marriage. So the women want commitment. The younger guys, it sounds like they're looking for some action.
They're looking for action.
Yeah.
And then the older guys are looking for peace.
Yes. That's what we all want.
You would think.
Well, I think in the back of our mind, I think as men, we like the trouble, like we like the fun of things, the thrill, but we really want peace.
Yeah, if people wanted peace, they should work to be peaceful.
Go on.
And that's just not what people are working towards.
Yeah.
They're working usually towards getting what they want, which is something else entirely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, I think you did a good explanation of this, but can you define again what the red pill is? Because I feel like there's so many definitions of it and there's a negative connotation around it.
It can be.
Yeah.
Like my content has been described in that way. I don't have a problem with that per se. I think if you ask 5 people what the red pill means, you'll get 5 different answers. And I definitely don't think it's pejorative, though there are content creators in that space who can be very extreme. I wonder, though, to be honest, to what extent they actually believe some of the things that they say, if they're just doing it for views.
Oh,
or
for sure. It's
exposure.
the second piece.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't met a lot of those folks personally, so I can't speak to it. To my mind, the red pill is understanding what works, how to actually attract women, and how to have harmonious, effortless relationships with them. It's not what you think should work. It's not potentially what you want to work. It's what actually works. And I think that you can think of the red pill as sort of like a practical set of strategies within a specific worldview that says, if you want this, this is how you can operate most effectively in this space. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. And so why do you...
That's a perfect way to put it, honestly. It's just unveiling the truth of human nature between the sexes. That's all it is. There's no morality injected here. Here's what we're biologically programmed to do. Here's our biological drives. We do this instinctually without knowing. And here's how you capitalize on these urges as a man, as a woman. It works for both sides. It's the truth of what men want. There's red pill for women, and it's the truth about what women want. And it's the red pill for men. That's all it is. People have, of course, because it's gotten mainstream, has gotten a bit more extreme and tribal and radical in nature. And, there are the grifters that are trying to get clicks and views and say crazy shit like women shouldn't vote and all this crap. But at the end of the day, in its purest sense, it's simply just understanding the sexual dynamics between the genders, between the 2 genders. That's it. That's a good way to close that one out. We'll cover more of this because this whole interview seems really interesting to me. But we'll see you guys on the next one.